Clara Jennings pressed the pen so hard against the paper that her knuckles turned white. $300. That was the price of her future. That was what a widowed rancher in Montana would pay for a 19-year-old bride he had never met. Her father had been dead for 4 days. Her mother was dying. Her younger brother was ready to go down into the mines that had already killed one man she loved. Clara signed her name. The ink bled into the paper like a wound that would never heal. If you want to follow Clara's journey to the end, subscribe to our channel and comment the city you're watching from. I'd love to see how far this story travels. The attorney's office smelled like tobacco and old paper. Clara Jennings stood at the desk, her hand frozen above the contract. The number sat there like a brand. $300. Miss Jennings, the attorney tapped his pen against the wood. We don't have all day. Clara looked at the document. Her name was already printed at the top. Clara Marie Jennings, age 19, of Carroll County, Ohio. Below that, another name. Henry Jacob Mercer, age 34, of Silver Creek Ranch, Montana Territory. A man she had never seen. A man who needed a wife. Sign it, her mother said from the chair behind her. Ida Jennings' voice was barely a whisper. Consumption had taken most of her strength. What remained she used to push her daughter toward survival. Clara turned. Mama, sign it. Ida's eyes were red, but her jaw was set. Your father is dead. I'll be gone before spring. Danny can't work the mines. He's 14 years old, Clara. 14. I know how old he is. Then you know what happens if you don't sign. Clara knew. She had seen boys go into the mines at Danny's age. Most of them didn't come out the same. Some of them didn't come out at all. Her father had been one of them. Walter Jennings, 41 years old, buried under 1,000 tons of rock because the mining company didn't bother to shore up a tunnel properly. They'd sent his body home in a box and $50 in compensation. $50 for a man's life. Now Clara was worth $300. She picked up the pen. Miss Jennings, the attorney said, I should inform you that once you sign, the contract is binding. Mr. Mercer has paid in full. You will depart for Montana on tomorrow's stage. The marriage will be performed upon your arrival. I understand. Do you? The attorney leaned back in his chair. Mr. Mercer is a widower with 5 children. His wife died 18 months ago. He needs someone to care for them. That's what you're agreeing to. Not a courtship. Not a romance. A job. Clara's hand tightened on the pen. I said I understand. Then sign. She signed. The scratch of ink on paper sounded louder than it should have. Final. Permanent. Done. The attorney stamped the document and slid an envelope across the desk. $300. Do with it what you will. The stage leaves at dawn. Clara took the envelope. It felt heavier than it should have for something so thin. Outside, the November wind cut straight through her coat. Her mother stood beside her on the wooden sidewalk, swaying slightly. Clara reached out to steady her. Don't, Ida said. I'm fine. You're not fine. You haven't been fine for months. And you just bought me another year, Ida's voice cracked. Clara, I never wanted— I know, Mama. I should have found another way. There wasn't another way. Clara looked down at the envelope in her hands. This is the only way. And now Danny doesn't have to go into the mines, and you can see a real doctor, and Nellie can stay in school. Ida pressed her hand to her mouth. Tears streamed down her hollow cheeks. Don't cry, Clara said. Please don't cry. My baby girl. Ida pulled her close. My sweet baby girl, sold off like livestock. I'm not sold, Mama. I'm starting over. That's all. People do it all the time." They both knew it was a lie, but it was a lie they needed. That night, Clara packed her life into a single trunk. 3 dresses, 2 worn and 1 saved for church. Her mother's Bible, the leather cracked and soft from years of use. A small photograph of her father from before the sickness took hold, when his eyes were still bright and his shoulders were still straight. She was folding her last dress when the door opened. Danny stood in the doorway, tall for 14, too thin, his dark hair falling into his eyes. He looked like their father. It hurt to see it. "I heard what you did," he said. Clara didn't turn around. "Then you know. You sold yourself to a stranger. I made an arrangement. It's the same thing." Danny crossed the room and grabbed her shoulders. "Clara, you can't do this. I'll work. I'll go to the mines tomorrow." "The mines killed Papa," Clara finally faced him. "I won't let them take you too." "And what about you?" Danny's voice broke. "What happens to you?" "I'll be fine. You don't know that. You don't know anything about this man. What if he's cruel? What if he hurts you? What if—" "Danny," Clara gripped his wrists. "Look at me." He looked. His eyes were wet. "If I don't go," she said quietly, "Mama dies. You go into the mines. Nellie ends up in some factory. That's the truth. That's what happens. I don't care. Yes, you do. And I care about you. All of you. That's why I'm doing this." Danny pulled her into a hug, fierce and desperate. He was shaking. "All right," Clara whispered. "Every week, I promise. And you write back. Tell me everything. Tell me about school and Nellie and Mama. Tell me when the doctor says she's getting better. What if she doesn't get better?" Clara closed her eyes. "Then you tell me that too." They stood there for a long moment, holding each other in the dim light of the oil lamp. Brother and sister. The last time they would be in the same room for God only knew how long. "I hate this," Danny said. "I know. I hate that you have to save us. Someone has to." He pulled back and looked at her. "You're braver than I am." "No," Clara touched his face. "I'm just older. That's all." Dawn came cold and gray. Clara stood beside the stagecoach, her trunk loaded, her coat buttoned to her chin. Her mother and Danny and Nellie had come to see her off. Mellie was crying. Danny was trying not to. Ida stepped forward and pressed something into Clara's hand. A small gold locket on a chain. "This was my mother's," Ida said, "and her mother's before that. Now it's yours." Clara opened it. Inside was a tiny photograph of her parents on their wedding day. Young, happy, full of hope. "Mama, I can't take this." "You can. You will." Ida closed Clara's fingers around the locket. "So you remember where you came from. And so you remember that you are loved. No matter where you go, no matter what happens, you are loved." Clara's vision blurred. "I love you too, Mama." "Go on now," Ida stepped back, "before I change my mind and drag you back home." The stagecoach driver called out. Time to leave. Clara climbed up into the coach. She didn't look back. She couldn't. If she looked back, she would break, and she couldn't afford to break. The coach lurched forward. The town fell away behind her. Ohio disappeared into the distance, and Clara Jennings disappeared with it. She was someone else now. Someone who belonged to a stranger in Montana. The journey took 4 days. 4 days of rough roads and uncomfortable seats, and stops at small towns where nobody knew her name. Clara watched the landscape change outside the window. The farms of Ohio gave way to the plains of the Middle Territories, and then to the wild, untamed land of the West. By the time the coach finally rolled into the town of Silver Creek, Clara's bones ached and her eyes burned from lack of sleep. But she sat up straight and smoothed her hair and tried to look like someone worth $300. A man waited beside a wagon, hat in his hands. He was older, weathered, with gray in his beard and deep lines around his eyes. "Miss Jennings?" "Yes." "Ezra Dawkins, ma'am. Foreman at the Mercer Ranch." He reached up to help her down. "Mr. Mercer sent me to fetch you." "He didn't come himself?" Ezra's expression flickered. "He's occupied. With the children." Clara nodded. She didn't let the disappointment show on her face. The wagon ride to the ranch took another hour. The land was vast and empty, covered in patches of snow that glinted in the weak November sun. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks white with ice. "Storm's coming," Ezra said after a long silence. "First big one of the season. You picked a hell of a time to arrive, begging your pardon." "I didn't pick anything, Mr. Dawkins. The timing was chosen for me." He glanced at her. Something like respect flickered in his eyes. "Tell me about the children," Clara said. Ezra's hands tightened on the reins. "Tommy's the oldest, 10 years old. He thinks he's the man of the house now. Takes everything too serious for a boy his age." "And the others?" "Ruthie's 8, hasn't spoken a word since her mama died." Clara felt something cold settle in her chest. "Not a word?" "Not one. Doc says there's nothing wrong with her throat. It's something in her mind. Something she can't let go of." "What about the rest?" "Sammy's 6. Good boy, but scared of his own shadow. Lily's 4. She's got fire in her, that one. Doesn't understand why her mama went away and won't come back. And then there's the baby. Joseph. Joey, we call him. 18 months. He was born the night his mama died." Clara closed her eyes. A baby who had never known his mother. Children who had lost everything. And she was supposed to fix it. "What about Mr. Mercer?" she asked. Ezra was quiet for a long moment. "Henry's a good man, but he's been empty since Becky passed. Works from before dawn until after dark. Barely looks at the children. Barely looks at anyone." "Why?" "Guilt, I reckon." Ezra's voice was heavy. He wasn't there when she died. He was out chasing cattle thieves while his wife was giving birth. By the time he got back, she was already gone. Clara didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. The ranch came into view as the sun was starting to set. It was larger than Clara had expected, a 2-story wooden house with a barn and several outbuildings. Smoke rose from the chimney. It looked like a home, but it felt like something else. Something waiting. Something holding its breath. The wagon stopped in front of the house. Before Clara could move, the front door burst open and a small figure ran out. A little girl, maybe 4 years old, red hair, freckles, a dress that was too big for her. She stopped short when she saw Clara, her eyes going wide. "That's Lily," Ezra said quietly. Clara climbed down from the wagon and crouched to the child's level. "Hello there." Lily stared at her. "You're pretty." "Thank you. So are you." "Are you going to be our new mama?" Clara's heart clenched. "I'm going to take care of you. Is that okay?" Lily considered this. Then she reached out and took Clara's hand. Her fingers were cold. "Come on, I'll show you the house." "Lily," a boy's voice cut through the moment. "Get back inside." Clara looked up. A boy stood in the doorway, dark-haired and serious, his jaw set in a way that made him look older than 10. Tommy. "She's cold," Lily said. "I'm bringing her inside." "She's not our mama." Tommy's eyes were hard. She's just someone Pa paid for. Tommy? Ezra's voice was sharp. That's enough. It's the truth. It's rude is what it is. Apologize. Tommy's chin lifted. I won't apologize for telling the truth. Clara stood slowly. She met the boy's eyes. You're right. Your father did pay for me, and I'm not your mama. Your mama is gone, and I'm sorry for that. But I'm here now, and I'm going to do my best. That's all I can promise. Tommy stared at her. Something flickered in his expression, too fast to read. Then he turned and walked back into the house. Lily tugged at Clara's hand. Don't be sad. Tommy's mean to everyone now. He's not mean, Clara said. He's hurting. That's what Papa says, too. They went inside. The house was warm, a fire crackling in the big stone fireplace. 2 more children sat near the hearth. A boy of about 6, hugging his knees, watching her with wide, frightened eyes. Sammy. And a girl of about 8, sitting perfectly still, her face blank, her gaze fixed on nothing. Ruthie, the one who didn't speak. A woman sat in a rocking chair, a baby in her arms. She was older, gray-haired, tired-looking. She stood when Clara entered. Miss Jennings, I'm Martha Holloway. I've been helping with the children since Mrs. Mercer passed. Thank you for that. Martha handed her the baby. This is Joey. Clara took him carefully. He was small and warm, with a tuft of red hair and his mother's eyes, or so Clara imagined. He looked up at her and made a small sound. Not quite a cry, not quite a coo. Hello, little one, Clara whispered. The back door opened. Cold air rushed in, and with it came a man. Clara knew immediately that this was Henry Mercer. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair going gray at the temples and a beard that needed trimming. His clothes were work-worn, his boots caked with mud and snow. But it was his eyes that held her. Blue, sharp, and utterly empty. He stopped when he saw her. His gaze moved from her face to the baby in her arms. You're here, he said. I'm here. The Reverend's coming tomorrow. Storm might delay him, but he'll come. All right. Henry stood there, stiff as a board, like he didn't know what to do next. You'll sleep in the room at the top of the stairs. It was Becky's sewing room. I had Martha clear it out. Thank you. Supper's at 6. The children eat together. I eat in the barn. You eat in the barn? I work late. Clara looked at him, at the lines of exhaustion on his face, at the way he held himself, like a man trying not to fall apart. Mr. Mercer, she said quietly, I didn't come here to replace your wife. I know I can't do that. But I did come here to help. And I can't help if you're hiding in the barn. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or anger. She couldn't tell. Miss Jennings. Clara. My name is Clara. Clara. He said it like the word was unfamiliar. I'm not hiding. I'm working. You're doing both. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. The children watched in silence. Even the baby was quiet. Finally, Henry turned toward the door. Supper's at 6, he repeated, and then he was gone. Martha Holloway let out a breath. Well, that went better than I expected. Did it? He usually doesn't talk that much. Martha gathered her shawl. I should go. The storm's coming, and I live in town. But I'll be back when I can. Thank you for everything you've done. Martha paused at the door. Those children need someone, Miss Jennings. They've been alone too long. Not just since their mama died. Since before. Henry, he doesn't know how to be a father without Becky. He never did. Then she was gone, and Clara was alone with 5 children she didn't know and a future she couldn't see. Lily was still holding her hand. Sammy was still watching with frightened eyes. Ruthie hadn't moved. Tommy had disappeared somewhere deeper into the house. And the baby in her arms made that small sound again, like a question. "All right," Clara said softly. "All right. Let's see what we've got." She found her way to the kitchen. It was cold, the stove unlit. There was food in the pantry, but nothing prepared. The children hadn't eaten. Clara set Joey in a wooden cradle near the stove and rolled up her sleeves. "Lily, can you show me where the matches are? Are you going to cook?" "I am. Martha usually cooks." "Well, I'm here now, and I know how to make biscuits. Do you like biscuits?" Lily's eyes went wide. "With butter?" "With butter. And honey if you have it." "We have honey. Papa keeps bees." "Then we'll have honey." Within an hour, the kitchen was warm and filled with the smell of baking. Clara had made biscuits and beans and fried up some salt pork. It wasn't fancy, but it was hot and it was ready. She set the table for 6. 6 plates, 6 forks, 6 cups. Tommy appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing?" "Setting the table for supper." "Papa doesn't eat with us." "He will tonight." "He won't." Clara met his eyes. "We'll see." She found Henry in the barn, brushing down one of the horses. He didn't look up when she entered. "Supper's ready," she said. "I told you, I eat out here. And I'm telling you that your children are sitting at that table waiting for their father. They've been waiting for 18 months. How much longer do you expect them to wait?" Henry's hand stopped moving. The brush hung in the air. "You don't know anything about my children." "I know that Tommy thinks he has to be the man of the house because you won't be. I know that Sammy is scared of everything because no one has made him feel safe. I know that Lily asks every stranger if they're going to be her new mama because she's desperate for someone to stay. I know that Ruthie hasn't spoken since her mother died, and I know—" Clara's voice cracked. "I know that baby in there has never been held by his father. Not once. Have you even looked at him, Mr. Mercer? Have you even held him?" Henry turned. His face was pale. "He looks like her." His voice was barely a whisper. "He has her eyes. Every time I look at him, I see her. And I can't—" He stopped. His jaw clenched. "I know it hurts," Clara said quietly. "I know you lost someone you loved. But those children lost someone too, and they need you. They need their father. Not a man who hides in the barn and works himself to death because he can't face his own grief." The silence stretched between them. "You've got a sharp tongue," Henry finally said. "I've got eyes, and I see a family that's falling apart. And you think you can fix it?" "I think I can try, but not alone." Clara stepped closer. "I didn't choose to come here, Mr. Mercer. I was sold, just like your son said. But I'm here now, and I'm asking you to meet me halfway." Henry looked at her for a long moment. She couldn't read his expression, couldn't tell if he was angry or grateful or something else entirely. "Fine," he said at last. "I'll come to supper." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." He hung the brush on a hook and walked past her toward the door. "I'm not an easy man to live with." "I figured that out already." He almost smiled. Almost. Supper was awkward. The children sat in their usual places, staring at their father like he was a ghost. Henry sat at the head of the table, stiff and uncomfortable. Clara sat across from him, Joey on her lap. Nobody talked. Clara picked up her fork. "These biscuits turned out pretty good, if I do say so myself." Silence. "Lily, you want to pass the honey?" Lily grabbed the jar and handed it over, her eyes darting between Clara and her father. "Thank you," Clara drizzled honey on her biscuit and took a bite. Your papa keeps good bees. More silence. Then Sammy spoke, so quiet Clara almost missed it. Are you going to stay? Clara looked at him. His plate was untouched. His eyes were huge. Yes, Sammy, I'm going to stay. Promise? I promise. Mama promised too. His voice cracked. She promised she'd be here when we woke up, but she wasn't. Clara's heart broke. She reached across the table and took his small hand. I know, sweetheart, I know. But I'm not going anywhere. You hear me? I'm right here. Sammy stared at her. Then, slowly, he nodded. And he picked up his fork and started to eat. One by one, the other children followed. Lily chattered about the bees. Tommy stayed silent but cleaned his plate. Ruthie ate mechanically, her eyes still empty. And Henry. Henry watched Clara like she was something he couldn't understand. A puzzle with too many pieces. After supper, Clara put the children to bed. Lily fell asleep mid-sentence. Sammy asked for a story, and Clara told him one, making it up as she went. Tommy pretended not to listen, but she saw him smile once. Ruthie let Clara tuck her in, but didn't respond when Clara said goodnight. Her eyes stayed fixed on the ceiling. Sleep well, Ruthie, Clara whispered. I'll be here in the morning. Nothing. Clara closed the door quietly and went back downstairs. Henry was sitting by the fire, staring into the flames. They're asleep, she said. I heard you, telling them stories. Sammy asked. Becky used to do that. His voice was rough. Every night. She had this one story about a rabbit and a fox. The kids loved it. I never could remember how it went. Clara sat down across from him. Tell me about her. Henry looked at her. Why? Because she matters. Because she was their mother. Because I need to know who I'm trying to follow. For a long moment, Henry didn't speak. Then, slowly, he began. Becky was... She was sunshine. That's the only way I know how to say it. She walked into a room and everything got brighter. She laughed at my jokes, even the bad ones. She sang while she cooked. She danced with the children in the kitchen. His voice broke. She made me believe I could be a good father. And then she was gone, and I realized I couldn't do any of it without her. That's not true. Isn't it? Look at my children, Clara. Tommy's angry all the time. Sammy's terrified. Ruthie hasn't spoken in 18 months. Lily doesn't understand why her mama left. And Joey... He stopped. Joey doesn't even know me. Then get to know him. I can't. Why? Because every time I look at him, I remember that she died bringing him into the world. And I wasn't there. I was out chasing cattle thieves while my wife was bleeding to death. His hands were shaking. I should have been there. I should have saved her. Could you have? Henry's head snapped up. What? If you had been there, could you have saved her? The silence was terrible. No, he whispered finally. The doctor said... He said there was nothing anyone could have done. But I should have been there. She shouldn't have died alone. She had Martha. She had the doctor. She wasn't alone. She didn't have me. Clara leaned forward. Mr. Mercer, Henry, you can't change what happened. You can't go back and be there when she died. But you can be here now. You can be here for your children. That's what she would want, isn't it? Henry's eyes were wet. How do you know what she would want? Because I'm a mother's daughter, and I know that every mother wants the same thing. For her children to be loved. For her children to be safe. For her children to grow up knowing that someone is there for them. Clara's voice was steady. That's what I want for them too. But I can't do it alone. The fire crackled. Outside, the wind was picking up. The storm was coming. "The Reverend comes tomorrow," Henry said at last. "If the storm holds off." "I know." "After that, you'll be my wife." "I know that too." "I can't promise to love you." "I'm not asking you to." Henry looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time. "What are you asking for?" Clara thought about it, about the contract she had signed, about the $300 that had bought her family another year, about the children upstairs, broken and scared and desperate for someone to care. "I'm asking for a chance," she said. "That's all. A chance to make this work. A chance to build something, not a replacement for what you had, something new." Henry was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right," he said. "A chance." He stood and walked toward the door. At the threshold, he stopped. "Clara." "Yes?" "Thank you. For making them eat. For the stories. For—" He trailed off. "Thank you." Then he was gone, out into the cold night. Clara sat alone by the fire, listening to the wind howl and the house settle. Tomorrow she would be married to a man she barely knew. Tomorrow she would become a mother to 5 children who had every reason not to trust her. She didn't know if she was brave enough for this. She didn't know if she was strong enough. But she was here, and she had promised to stay. That would have to be enough. The storm hit before dawn. Clara woke to the sound of wind screaming against the walls. She sat up in the narrow bed, heart pounding, and for a moment she didn't know where she was. Then it came back. Montana, the ranch, the children, the wedding. She dressed quickly in the cold room, her fingers fumbling with buttons. When she opened her door, she found Lily standing in the hallway, clutching a ragged doll. "I'm scared," Lily whispered. Clara knelt down. "It's just a storm, sweetheart." "The house is shaking." "The house is strong. It's been through storms before." "What if it falls down?" "It won't fall down, I promise." Lily studied her face. "You promise a lot." "I keep my promises too." The child considered this. Then she held out her hand. "Can I stay with you?" "Of course you can." They went downstairs together. The fire had died to embers. Clara rebuilt it while Lily watched, her small body pressed against Clara's side. By the time the flames were crackling again, footsteps sounded on the stairs. Tommy appeared, fully dressed, his face tight. "Papa's gone to the barn. Animals need checking." "In this storm?" "He said he'd be back." Tommy's voice was flat. "He always says that." Clara heard what he didn't say. He doesn't always come back. "He'll be back," Clara said firmly. "Your father knows this land." "You don't know anything about my father." "I know he loves you." Tommy laughed. It was a bitter sound, too old for a 10-year-old. "If he loved us, he wouldn't leave all the time." Before Clara could answer, a cry came from upstairs. "Joey." She thrust Lily toward Tommy. "Watch your sister." "I always watch her." Clara ran up the stairs. Joey was wailing in his cradle, face red, fists clenched. She picked him up and held him close, bouncing gently, murmuring nonsense words until his cries faded to whimpers. "Shh, little one, I've got you." She carried him downstairs. Sammy was awake now, sitting on the bottom step, hugging his knees. His eyes went to the window, then back to Clara. "Is Papa coming back?" "Yes. The storm is bad. He'll be back." The door burst open. Henry stumbled in, covered in snow, his face red from the cold. He slammed the door behind him and leaned against it, breathing hard. "Papa!" Lily ran to him. Henry caught her, lifted her up. "I'm here, little one. I'm here." For a moment, just a moment, Clara saw him as he must have been before. A father who held his children. A man who came home. Then his eyes met hers over Lily's head, and the walls went back up. "Reverend won't make it today," he said. "Storm's too bad." "Then we wait." "Could be days." "Then we wait days." Henry set Lily down. "There's something else. The henhouse roof collapsed. Lost half the flock." Clara's stomach dropped. Half the chickens, in winter. That meant eggs, meat, survival. "Can it be fixed?" "Not until the storm passes." Henry stripped off his coat. "We'll manage. We always manage." But his voice was hollow. Clara heard the fear underneath. The storm raged for 3 days. 3 days of howling wind and snow piled higher than the windows. 3 days trapped inside with 5 children and a man who barely spoke. Clara filled the time. She cooked. She cleaned. She told stories until her voice went hoarse. She played games with Lily and Sammy, taught Tommy to make bread, sat with Ruthie even though the girl never responded. And she watched Henry. He paced like a caged animal, checking the windows, calculating supplies, running figures in his head. He ate standing up, slept in a chair by the fire, and spoke only when necessary. On the second night, Clara found him in the kitchen, staring at the pantry. "We're running low," he said without turning around. "I know." "If the storm doesn't break soon, it will." "You don't know that." Clara stepped closer. "I know that worrying won't change it. I know that your children are watching you. I know that they need to see their father calm, even if you don't feel calm." Henry turned. His eyes were red-rimmed. "You think I don't know that? I think you're exhausted. I think you've been carrying this alone for too long. I don't have a choice." "You do now." Clara held his gaze. "I'm here. Let me help." He stared at her. Something shifted in his face, too quick to name. "Why do you care?" he asked. "You didn't choose this. You didn't choose us." "No, but I'm choosing to stay. Isn't that enough?" The silence stretched between them. Then Henry let out a breath. "Becky would have liked you," he said quietly. Clara didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. On the third morning, Clara woke to silence. The wind had stopped. She went to the window and saw blue sky, pale and clear, stretching over a world buried in white. "Papa!" Lily's voice rang through the house. "The storm's over!" Henry was already pulling on his boots. "I need to check the animals. Clara, can you? I've got the children." He nodded once. Then he was gone. Clara turned to find Tommy watching her. "He said your name," the boy said. "What?" "He called you Clara, not Miss Jennings." Clara hadn't noticed. But now that Tommy pointed it out, she felt something warm bloom in her chest. It was small, but it was something. The Reverend arrived that afternoon, red-faced and apologetic, his horse struggling through the drifts. He was a thin man, with kind eyes and a voice that carried. "Terrible sorry for the delay," he said, stomping snow off his boots. "Storm caught everyone off guard." "You're here now," Clara said. "That's what matters." The ceremony was simple. Clara wore her church dress, the only nice thing she owned. The children lined up by the fireplace, scrubbed clean. Even Ruthie was there, silent and still. Henry stood stiff in his Sunday clothes, his jaw tight. He looked like a man facing execution. The Reverend opened his Bible. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here— Wait! Tommy stepped forward. I want to say something. Henry's face darkened. Tommy, let him speak, Clara said quietly. Tommy turned to her. His chin was trembling, but his voice was steady. I don't like this. I don't like that Papa had to buy someone to take care of us. I don't like that you're a stranger, but— He swallowed hard. But you stayed during the storm. You stayed and you cooked and you told Sammy stories and you didn't give up. So I guess that's something. Clara's eyes burned. Thank you, Tommy. I'm not done. The boy straightened his shoulders. If you hurt my family, I'll never forgive you. Ever. You understand? I understand. Tommy nodded once. Then he stepped back into line. The Reverend cleared his throat. Well, that was— Shall we continue? The vows were quick. Do you take this man? I do. Do you take this woman? I do. When the Reverend said they could kiss, Henry leaned forward and pressed his lips to Clara's forehead. It was gentle, almost tender, but his eyes stayed closed, like he couldn't bear to look at her. And just like that, Clara Jennings became Clara Mercer. The Reverend left before dark, eager to beat any new weather. Clara stood at the window and watched him go, her new name sitting strange and heavy on her shoulders. Mrs. Mercer! She turned. Sammy was standing behind her, his eyes huge. That's what I call you now, right? Mrs. Mercer? Clara knelt down. You can call me Clara. But you're married to Papa now. I am. So you're our mama? Clara thought about how to answer. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to be here when you wake up and when you go to sleep. I'm going to make sure you're fed and warm and safe. But your mama, your real mama, she's still your mama. I'm not trying to replace her. Sammy's lower lip trembled. I don't remember her very good anymore. Clara's heart cracked. That's okay, sweetheart. Tommy says I should remember. He says it's wrong to forget. Tommy's hurting. We all remember in different ways. Clara took his small hands. You know what I think? I think your mama is watching over you, and I think she's happy that someone is here to take care of you now. You really think so? I really do. Sammy threw his arms around her neck. Clara held him tight, blinking back tears. The days settled into a rhythm. Clara rose early. She cooked breakfast. She helped Tommy with his chores and played with Lily and held Joey and sat with Ruthie. She learned the house, the pantry, the routines, and slowly the children began to open. Lily was the easiest. She followed Clara everywhere, chattering constantly, asking 1,000 questions. Why is the sky blue? Where do birds go in winter? Can I have a cookie? Why does Papa look sad all the time? Clara answered what she could. The rest she filed away. Sammy took longer. He was skittish, flinching at loud noises, crying at small setbacks. But Clara was patient. She held him when he woke from nightmares. She praised him when he finished his chores. She told him, again and again, that he was safe. Tommy watched everything. He didn't trust her, not yet. But he stopped arguing when she gave instructions. He started eating at the table again. Once, when Clara cut her hand slicing bread, he brought her a clean cloth without being asked. Thank you, Clara said. Tommy shrugged. You need both hands to cook. It wasn't affection, but it was progress. Ruthie was the hardest. The girl sat where she was placed. She ate what she was given. She went to bed when she was told. But she never spoke, never smiled, never reacted to anything. Clara tried everything. She talked to Ruthie about the weather, the animals, the food. She read to her from the Bible. She sat with her in silence, just being present. Nothing. She's been like this since Becky died, Ezra told Clara one afternoon when he came to check on the ranch. Doc says she might never talk again. She'll talk, Clara said. How do you know? Because she's not gone. I can see it in her eyes. She's still in there, waiting. Ezra gave her a long look. You're either very hopeful or very foolish. Maybe both. A week after the wedding, the first visitor came. Clara was kneading bread when she heard the wagon. She wiped her hands and went to the window. A woman was climbing down, dressed in fine clothes that had no business being on a ranch. Henry emerged from the barn. The woman walked straight to him and put her hand on his arm. Clara felt something twist in her stomach. She told herself it was nothing. She went back to her bread. The front door opened. Henry's voice carried from the hallway. Clara, someone here to see you. Clara dusted the flour off her hands and walked out. The woman was standing in the entryway, looking around with barely concealed distaste. She was pretty, Clara noticed. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a figure that her expensive dress showed off to advantage. So this is her. The woman's voice was honey over ice. The mail-order bride. Clara, this is Harriet Crawford, Henry said. His voice was stiff. She's a friend. Her husband passed 2 years ago. Widow to widow, Harriet said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Or should I say, widow to replacement? Clara kept her face neutral. Mrs. Crawford, welcome to our home. Your home, Harriet laughed. How quickly they adapt. Tell me, dear, what exactly did Henry pay for you? I've heard different numbers. Harriet, Henry's voice sharpened. That's enough. I'm just curious. It's not every day a man buys himself a wife. Harriet turned to Clara, her smile widening. Don't worry. I'm sure you'll do fine. After all, how hard can it be to warm his bed and mind his brats? Clara's hands curled into fists. His children are not brats. Oh, touched a nerve, did I? You touched on something that isn't your concern. The smile froze on Harriet's face. Excuse me? Mr. Mercer's children are my family now, and I don't take kindly to strangers insulting them. I'm hardly a stranger. Henry and I have known each other for years. I was friends with poor Becky. I helped her when she was dying. Harriet's eyes glittered. Where were you then? I was in Ohio, watching my own father die. Clara's voice didn't waver. So I understand grief, Mrs. Crawford. What I don't understand is cruelty. The silence was thick enough to cut. Harriet turned to Henry. She's got spirit, I'll give her that. Let's see how long it lasts. I think you should leave, Henry said quietly. Excuse me? You heard me. Clara is my wife. This is her home. And you don't get to come in here and insult her. Harriet's face went red. Henry Mercer, I have been nothing but supportive since Becky died. I brought food. I offered to help with the children. You offered to marry me. The words hung in the air. Clara looked at Henry. He was staring at Harriet with something like disgust. I said no, Henry continued. I said no 3 times. So you decided to spread rumors about me in town instead. You told people I was neglecting my children. You told them I was drinking myself to death. You tried to turn the whole town against me so I'd have no choice but to come crawling to you. Harriet's composure cracked. That's not... Don't lie to me. I know what you did. I know what you are. Henry stepped forward. And I want you off my property. Now. For a long moment, Harriet didn't move. Then she gathered her skirts and swept toward the door. You'll regret this, Henry, she said. Both of you will. That girl doesn't belong here. She doesn't know the first thing about running a ranch or raising children. She's nothing but a bought woman playing house. Get out. Harriet left. The wagon disappeared down the road. Clara let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. She'll cause trouble. I know. Why didn't you tell me about her? Henry rubbed his face. Because I was ashamed. She's been circling since before Becky died. I thought if I ignored her long enough, she'd go away. She doesn't seem like the giving up type. No, she's not. Henry looked at Clara. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have had to deal with that. I can handle myself. I saw that. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. You stood up to her. Nobody stands up to Harriet Crawford. Then it was past time someone did. That night, after the children were asleep, Clara sat by the fire with Joey in her arms. The baby was drowsy, his eyes half closed, his small hand wrapped around her finger. Henry came in from the barn. He stopped when he saw them. He's almost asleep, Clara said quietly. Henry didn't move. He just stood there, staring at his son. Do you want to hold him? The question hung in the air. I can't, Henry whispered. You can. Every time I look at him, I see her. I see her face when she realized something was wrong. I see her reaching for me, and I wasn't there. Clara stood slowly. She walked toward him, Joey cradled in her arms. Henry, look at him. Clara, look at your son. Henry's eyes dropped to the baby. Joey stirred, made a small sound, and settled again. He has your chin, Clara said. And your hands. Look at those fingers. Those are your fingers. Henry's breath caught. He's not a reminder of what you lost, Clara continued. He's a piece of what you still have. He's your son. He needs his father. Slowly, hesitantly, Henry reached out. His hand hovered over Joey's head. Take him, Clara said. Henry looked at her. His eyes were wet. I don't know how. You'll figure it out. Here. Clara transferred the baby into his arms. Support his head. There, like that. Henry held his son for the first time. Joey's eyes opened. He looked up at his father, studying this new face. Then he smiled. Henry broke. The tears came fast and silent, streaming down his face. He pulled Joey closer, cradling him against his chest. I'm sorry, he choked out. God, I'm so sorry. I should have done this months ago. I should have. You're doing it now, Clara said gently. That's what matters. She left them there, father and son, 18 months of distance, finally closing. She went to the kitchen and stood with her hands on the counter, breathing deep. Something had shifted. Something important. She didn't know yet if it was enough, but it was a start. The next morning, Clara woke to singing. She sat up, confused. The voice was thin and rusty, like it hadn't been used in a long time. She followed the sound downstairs. Ruthie was standing by the window, her back to the room, humming a melody Clara didn't recognize. Clara stopped breathing. Ruthie turned. When she saw Clara, she went silent. No, don't stop, Clara said quickly. That was beautiful. What song is that? Ruthie's mouth opened, closed. Her eyes filled with tears. It's okay, Clara said softly. She didn't move closer. She didn't want to spook her. You don't have to say anything, but if you want to, I'm listening. Ruthie's lips trembled. Her hands twisted in her dress. Mama used to sing it, she whispered. Clara's knees almost gave out. 3 words. The first words Ruthie had spoken in 18 months. Did she? Clara kept her voice steady. It's a pretty song. She sang it to Joey.
Before he came.
Ruthie's voice cracked.
She was singing when she died.
Clara crossed the room slowly. She knelt in front of Ruthie, taking the girl's cold hands in hers.
That must have been so scary,
Clara said. Ruthie nodded. Tears spilled down her cheeks.
Were you there when your mama died?
Another nod. Ruthie's whole body was shaking now.
Oh, sweetheart.
Clara gathered her close.
Oh, my brave girl. You've been carrying this all alone.
Ruthie sobbed into her shoulder, deep, racking sobs that shook her small frame. 18 months of silence, 18 months of grief, pouring out at last. Clara held her and let her cry. When the storm finally passed, Ruthie pulled back. Her face was blotchy, her eyes swollen. But something in them had changed.
I was scared, she whispered. If I talked, it meant she was really gone. It meant I couldn't pretend anymore.
I know, sweetheart, I know.
But you're here now.
I'm here. Ruthie looked at her with eyes far too old for 8 years.
Are you going to die too?
Clara's heart shattered. I'm going to try very hard not to, she said. And I'm going to be here for as long as I can. That's the only promise I can make. But I mean it, Ruthie. I'm not going anywhere. Ruthie studied her face. Then, slowly, she nodded.
Okay,
she said. Just that. Okay. But it was everything. Henry found them like that, sitting together by the window. Ruthie was talking quietly, telling Clara about her mother, and Clara was listening. He stopped in the doorway. His face went pale.
Ruthie?
His voice cracked.
Baby girl?
Ruthie looked up.
Hi, Papa.
Henry crossed the room in 3 strides. He fell to his knees and pulled his daughter into his arms, holding her so tight Clara worried he might crush her.
You're talking, he said. My God, Ruthie, you're talking. Clara helped.
Henry looked at Clara over Ruthie's head. His eyes were wet, his face open in a way she'd never seen before.
Thank you, he said. Thank you. I can't ever.
You don't have to thank me, Clara smiled, her own eyes blurring. She did the hard part. She found her voice again. I just listened. But Henry kept looking at her like she'd performed a miracle, like she was something precious and unexpected. Clara felt that warmth bloom in her chest again, bigger this time, harder to ignore. She told herself it was nothing, but she knew it was a lie. The house changed after Ruthie spoke. Clara felt it in the way the children moved, the way they breathed. Something that had been wound tight for 18 months finally loosened. Ruthie didn't talk much at first. A word here, a sentence there, but each one was a victory. Each one made Henry's eyes light up in a way Clara hadn't seen before. Tommy noticed too. She asked me to pass the salt, he told Clara one morning, his voice hushed like he was sharing a secret. At breakfast, she just asked, like it was normal. It is normal, Clara said. It hasn't been normal for a long time. Clara put her hand on his shoulder. I know, but it can be again. Tommy looked at her. Something in his face softened. You really think so? I do. He nodded slowly. Then he did something he'd never done before. He leaned into her touch, just for a moment, before pulling away. I got chores, he muttered, and headed out the door. Clara watched him go, her heart full. That afternoon, Clara decided to go to town. They needed supplies, and she needed to show her face. Henry had warned her that people would talk, but she couldn't hide at the ranch forever. I'll come with you, Henry said. No, stay with the children. I can handle myself. He looked uncertain. Harriet's been spreading lies. The whole town thinks. I don't care what they think. Clara. Henry. She met his eyes. I've faced worse than gossip. Let me do this. He held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. Be careful.
I will.
The ride to town took an hour. Clara kept her back straight and her chin up as she guided the wagon down the main street. She felt eyes on her from every direction. Whispers followed her like shadows. She tied up the horse outside the general store and walked in. The conversation stopped dead. 3 women stood near the counter. Clara recognized none of them, but they clearly recognized her. Their eyes raked over her dress, her face, her hands. "So this is her," one of them said. "The bought bride." Clara walked to the counter. "I need flour, sugar, and salt. 5 pounds of each." The shopkeeper, a thin man with spectacles, didn't move. "Mrs. Mercer, is it?" "That's right. Heard a lot about you." "I'm sure you have." He hesitated. The women watched, waiting. Clara pulled out her money and set it on the counter. "Flour, sugar, salt, please." The shopkeeper looked at the money, then at the women, then back at Clara. "I don't think we have what you need," he said. Clara went still. "Excuse me?" "We're all out." "I can see the flour on the shelf behind you." "That's spoken for." The women smiled. One of them laughed. Clara felt heat rise in her cheeks. She wanted to grab the flour herself. She wanted to throw the money in his face. But she kept her voice steady. "I see. And where might I find what I need?" "Maybe try the next town over," one of the women said sweetly. "About 40 miles east." Clara gathered her money and turned to leave. "Wait!" A new voice. Clara turned. An older woman stood in the doorway. Gray hair, sharp eyes, a face lined with years of hard living. She carried a basket over her arm. "Martha Patterson," the woman said. "Doc Patterson's wife. I know who you are." Clara braced herself for another insult. "You come with me," Martha said. "I've got flour at my house, and I'd like to meet the woman who got Ruthie Mercer talking again." The women at the counter exchanged glances. The shopkeeper's face went red. Clara looked at Martha Patterson. "Why would you help me?" "Because I was with Becky when she died. I held her hand, and the last thing she asked me was to make sure her children were cared for." Martha's eyes were fierce. "From what I hear, you're doing exactly that." Clara followed Martha out of the store. She felt the stairs boring into her back, but she didn't look back. Martha's house was small, but clean. She set Clara down at the kitchen table and poured her tea without asking. "Harriet Crawford's been busy," Martha said, "telling everyone you're a gold digger, that you trapped Henry into marriage, that you're mistreating those children." "None of that is true." "I know it's not, but people like scandal. Makes their own lives feel less small." Clara wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "What do I do?" "You keep your head down. You take care of that family, and you let time prove them wrong." Martha sat across from her. "It won't be easy. Harriet has friends, money, influence, but she doesn't have what you have." "What's that?" "Henry Mercer's loyalty." Martha's eyes softened. "I've known that man for 15 years. He doesn't give his trust easy, but once he does, he never takes it back. And from what I saw when you left that ranch, he trusts you." Clara thought about the way Henry had looked at her that morning, the worry in his eyes, the way he'd almost reached for her hand before stopping himself. "I don't know what he feels," she said quietly. "Maybe not, but I do." Martha leaned forward. "That man is falling in love with you, whether he knows it or not." Clara's heart stuttered. "He barely speaks to me." "Henry never was good with words, but actions? That man speaks volumes in what he does." Martha smiled. "He let you handle those children,
He backed you against Harriet. He stayed home today so you could come to town alone. Those aren't the actions of a man who sees you as just a transaction."
Clara didn't know what to say. Her chest felt tight.
"Give it time," Martha said. "And don't let Harriet Crawford win."
When Clara got home, the children were in the yard. Lily ran to her immediately.
"What did you bring? Did you get candy?" "No candy today, sweetheart." "Why not?"
The store was out. Tommy appeared beside them, his eyes sharp. "They turned you away, didn't they?" Clara hesitated. "I heard Papa talking to Ezra," Tommy said. "I know what Mrs. Crawford's been saying."
"It doesn't matter."
"It does matter." Tommy's hands curled into fists. "She's a liar. You're not what she says."
"Tommy."
"You fixed Ruthie. You made Papa smile. You stayed during the storm when you could have run." His voice cracked. "You're not a bad person." Clara knelt down.
"Thank you, Tommy. That means more than you know."
He looked away, embarrassed. "Whatever. I'm going to help Ezra." He ran off toward the barn. Clara watched him go, her eyes stinging. That night, after the children were asleep, Clara sat on the porch. The cold bit at her face, but she didn't go inside. She needed space to think. The door opened behind her. Henry stepped down. "You'll freeze," he said.
"I'm fine."
He sat down beside her, close but not touching. "Martha Patterson stopped by while you were putting the kids to bed. Told me what happened in town." Clara stared straight ahead.
"It's nothing."
"It's not nothing. They humiliated you."
"I've survived worse."
Henry was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was rough. "I should have gone with you."
"I told you I could handle it."
"You shouldn't have to handle it alone." He turned to face her. "Clara, I brought you into this, into my mess, my grief, my problems with that woman. And you've done nothing but give. To me, to my children. You gave us everything, and I've given you nothing back."
"That's not true."
"It is true." His voice broke. "You want to know why I really hid in the barn all those months? Why I couldn't look at Joey? Why I let my children suffer?" Clara turned to face him. His eyes were wet in the moonlight. "Because I killed her," Henry whispered. "Becky. I killed my wife." Clara's breath caught.
"Henry."
"Not with my hands, but I killed her just the same." He pressed his palms against his eyes. "That night, the night Joey was born, I knew she was close. The baby could come any day, but we'd had trouble with cattle thieves. They'd taken 20 head the week before, and I got word they were coming back. So you went after them. I had to protect the ranch. That's what I told myself. I had to protect our future." His laugh was bitter. "Becky begged me to stay. She said the cattle could wait. She said she had a bad feeling. But I didn't listen. I rode out with Ezra and 3 other men, and I didn't come back for 2 days." Clara reached out and took his hand. He flinched, but didn't pull away. "Martha sent word to me on the second night. Said Becky was in labor. Said something was wrong. I rode through the night, Clara. I nearly killed my horse getting back." His voice cracked. "But I was too late. By the time I walked through that door, she was already gone." The baby was crying in Martha's arms, and Becky was just lying there, cold, like she'd been waiting for me. "It wasn't your fault. I left her. She needed me, and I left. You couldn't have known." "I knew." Henry's face twisted. "Deep down, I knew. She told me she had a bad feeling, and I felt it too. But I was stubborn. I was proud. I told myself a man protects his land, and I rode away from the only thing that really mattered." Clara squeezed his hand.
Henry, listen to me. Becky's death was a tragedy, but it wasn't a punishment. It wasn't because you left. Sometimes terrible things happen, and there's no one to blame. Then why does it feel like I'm being punished every single day? Because you're punishing yourself. Clara moved closer. You've been punishing yourself for 18 months, hiding from your children, hiding from your grief, hiding from anything that might make you feel something. Henry looked at her. His walls were down, his face open and raw.
Then you came, he said quietly, and you wouldn't let me hide anymore. No, I wouldn't.
Why?
His voice was barely a whisper.
Why do you care so much?
Clara thought about the question, thought about the contract she'd signed, the money that had bought her family another year, the strangers she'd been handed over to. Because I know what it's like to lose everything, she said. I know what it's like to think you'll never feel whole again. And I know that the only way through it is together. Henry raised his hand. Slowly, hesitantly, he touched her face. His fingers were rough and warm against her skin. I don't deserve you, he said.
Maybe not.
Clara smiled slightly. But you're stuck with me now. He laughed. It was rusty and broken, but it was real. Clara, his voice dropped, I need to tell you something.
What?
He leaned closer. She could feel his breath on her face. I'm falling in love with you, he said. I didn't want to. I tried not to, but I can't help it. Every day, I watch you with my children, and I think about how lucky I am. Every night, I lie awake, thinking about you. And I know I have no right. I know you didn't choose this, but I... Clara kissed him. She didn't plan it, didn't think about it. She just leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. For a moment, he froze. Then his arms came around her, pulling her close, and he kissed her back with 18 months of loneliness and longing. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard.
I'm falling in love with you too, Clara whispered. I didn't expect it, but I am.
Henry pressed his forehead to hers. What do we do now?
We figure it out, together.
He kissed her again, softer this time. A promise. When Clara finally went inside, her lips were swollen and her heart was racing. She climbed the stairs in a daze. Ruthie was standing in the hallway. Clara stopped.
Sweetheart, what are you doing up?
Ruthie looked at her with those two old eyes.
I saw you and Papa, on the porch.
Clara's face flushed.
Ruthie, are you going to be our real mama now?
Clara knelt down. Would that be okay with you? Ruthie considered the question seriously. Then she nodded.
Mama would want Papa to be happy, she said. She told me that, before she died. She said, take care of Papa, Ruthie. Make sure he smiles again.
Ruthie's eyes filled with tears.
I couldn't do it. I tried, but I couldn't. But you did.
Clara pulled her into a hug.
We did it together, sweetheart. All of us.
Ruthie held on tight.
I'm glad you came.
Me too. The next few days passed in a blur of warmth and hope. Henry smiled more. He sat with the children at meals. He held Joey without flinching. At night, he and Clara talked for hours, learning each other piece by piece. But trouble was coming. They both knew it. The trouble came on a Sunday morning. The family went to church for the first time since Clara arrived. Henry had been reluctant, but Clara insisted.
We need to show them we're not ashamed, she said. We need to show them we're a family.
So they went. All of them. Clara in her church dress, the children scrubbed and polished. Henry in his Sunday best. The whispers started before they even reached the door. Inside, People turned to stare. Some looked curious. Some looked disgusted. Harriet Crawford sat in the front pew, her smile sharp as a blade. Clara kept her eyes forward. She sat down with the children, Henry beside her. Ruthie slipped her hand into Clara's. The sermon was about forgiveness. Clara thought it was fitting. Afterward, as people filed out, Harriet stepped into their path. "Well, well," she said loudly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "The bought bride shows her face in church. How bold!" "Harriet," Henry's voice was warning. "I'm just making conversation, Henry. After all, we're all neighbors here." Harriet's eyes fixed on Clara.
Tell me, dear, how does it feel to sleep in a dead woman's bed?
Clara felt the words like a slap, but she didn't flinch. "I wouldn't know," she said calmly. "I don't sleep in Becky's bed. I sleep in my own." A murmur ran through the crowd.
How touching.
Harriet stepped closer.
But we all know the truth, don't we? You're nothing but a paid servant playing wife. Henry doesn't love you. He can't love you. His heart died with Becky.
"That's enough." Henry stepped forward, putting himself between Harriet and Clara. "You don't speak for me. You don't know what's in my heart."
Oh, but I do. Harriet's smile widened. I know that 3 months ago you came to me. Do you remember? You came to my house in the middle of the night, drunk and crying. You told me you'd never love anyone again. You told me you wished you'd died instead of her.
The crowd went silent. Clara looked at Henry. His face was pale.
"That was 3 months ago," he said, "before Clara came."
"Does that change anything?" Harriet laughed. "You think this girl can fix you? You think a bought wife can replace Becky? You're a fool, Henry Mercer, and so is she." Tommy stepped forward. His small fists were clenched. "You're wrong." Harriet looked down at him with contempt. "Children should be seen and not heard." "My mama's dead," Tommy said. His voice shook, but he didn't stop. "She's been dead for 18 months. And Papa's been sad for so long, I forgot what his smile looked like." But Clara made him smile again. She made all of us smile again. "And you're just jealous because he picked her and not you." The crowd gasped. Harriet's face went purple. "You little—" "He's right." Henry's voice cut through the air. "I did go to you, Harriet. I was drunk and desperate, and I said things I shouldn't have said. But I never wanted you. I wanted Becky back.
And since I couldn't have that, I wanted someone who could love my children the way they deserved." He took Clara's hand.
"I found that," he said. "I found it in the woman you're trying to destroy. Clara didn't ask for this life, but she took it. She took me and my broken family, and she's putting us back together, piece by piece." Henry looked at Clara. His eyes were fierce. "I love her," he said. "I love my wife." Clara's heart stopped. "And if anyone in this town has a problem with that," Henry continued, "they can take it up with me." The silence stretched. Then Martha Patterson started clapping. One by one, others joined. Not everyone, but enough. Enough to make Harriet's face crumple with rage. "This isn't over," she hissed. "Yes, it is." Henry's voice was calm. "It's over, Harriet. Find someone else to torment." He led Clara and the children past her, out of the church, into the cold morning air. Clara didn't speak until they were in the wagon. Then she turned to him.
"You said you loved me."
"I did."
"In front of everyone."
"I know."
"Did you mean it?"
Henry looked at her. His eyes were soft. "Every word." Clara leaned against his shoulder. The children crowded around them. Ruthie was smiling. Tommy looked proud. Even Joey was gurgling happily in Clara's arms.
"Let's go home,"
Clara said. Henry clicked the reins, and they went home. Together. The days after the church confrontation were quiet. Too quiet. Clara kept waiting for Harriet to strike back, but nothing came. No visitors, no letters, no whispers reaching the ranch. "Maybe she gave up," Ezra said one afternoon. "Harriet Crawford doesn't give up," Henry replied. "She's planning something." Clara tried not to think about it. She had other things on her mind, things she hadn't told anyone yet. She'd missed her monthly bleeding twice now. Her breasts were tender. She was tired all the time, and certain smells made her stomach turn. She knew what it meant. She'd seen it in her mother, in the women back in Ohio. She was carrying Henry's child. The knowledge sat heavy in her chest, part joy, part terror. Becky had died in childbirth. The thought circled in Clara's mind like a vulture. She told herself she would tell Henry soon, when the time was right, when she was sure. But Ruthie figured it out first. "You're sick again," the girl said one morning, finding Clara hunched over a basin in the kitchen. "I'm fine, sweetheart. You've been sick every morning for a week." Clara wiped her mouth and straightened up. "It's nothing." Ruthie studied her with those two wise eyes. "Mama was sick like that, before Joey came." Clara's heart stopped. "Are you going to have a baby?" Ruthie asked. Clara didn't know how to answer. She didn't want to lie, but she wasn't ready for the truth. "Can you keep a secret?" she finally said. Ruthie nodded solemnly. "I think I might be, but I haven't told your papa yet. I need to be sure first." Ruthie's face lit up. "A baby! A real baby!" "Shh! Not a word to anyone. Promise?" "I promise." Ruthie threw her arms around Clara's waist. "I hope it's a girl. I want a sister." Clara held her tight, blinking back tears. "We'll see, sweetheart. We'll see." That afternoon, Martha Patterson came to visit. She took one look at Clara and smiled. "How far along are you?" Clara nearly dropped the teapot. "How did you? I've delivered half the babies in this county. I know the look." Martha sat down at the kitchen table. "Does Henry know?" "Not yet." "Why not?" Clara poured the tea with shaking hands. "Because Becky died, in childbirth. And I'm afraid, you're afraid he'll panic. I'm afraid he'll break." Martha reached across the table and took her hand. "He won't break. That man has been through hell, and he's still standing. He's stronger than he knows. But what if something goes wrong? What if I—" "Stop." Martha's voice was firm. "You can't live in fear. Becky's death was a tragedy, but it doesn't have to be your story. You're young, you're healthy, and you've got me. I'll be here every step of the way." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." "Tell him tonight. He deserves to know." Clara nodded. "I will." But she didn't get the chance. Henry came home early, his face dark. He walked past Clara without a word and went straight to the bedroom. "Henry?" Clara followed him. "What's wrong?" He was pacing, his hands clenched into fists. Harriet went to the bank. Clara's blood went cold. "What?" "She went to the bank and told them I'm unfit to manage my own affairs. She said I've been drinking, neglecting the ranch, wasting money on a mail-order bride." His voice cracked. "She's trying to get them to call in my loans." "Can she do that?" "She's got friends there. Her late husband was on the board." Henry stopped pacing. "If they call the loans, I lose everything. The ranch, the cattle, the house." "The children." Henry looked at her. His eyes were wild. "I can't lose them, Clara. I can't." Clara crossed the room and grabbed his arms. "You won't. We won't let her win." "How? She's got money, power, connections. I'm just a rancher who can barely keep his head above water." You're more than that. You're a father, a husband, a good man. Clara gripped him tighter. And you're not alone anymore. Henry's shoulders sagged. I don't know what to do. We fight. Together. With what? Clara thought fast. The townspeople. The ones who clap for us at church. Martha Patterson. Doc Patterson. The people who know Harriet for what she really is. We get them on our side. It's not enough. It's a start. Clara lifted his chin, forcing him to meet her eyes. Henry, listen to me. I didn't come this far to watch everything fall apart. I didn't survive Ohio and the journey and Harriet Crawford just to give up now. We fight. You hear me? We fight until there's nothing left to fight with. Henry stared at her. Slowly, the wildness faded from his eyes. God, I love you, he breathed. I know you do. Now pull yourself together. We've got work to do. The next morning, Clara rode into town alone. She went straight to Doc Patterson's house. Martha was already there, and she listened as Clara explained the situation. Harriet's gone too far this time, Martha said grimly. She's not just trying to hurt Henry. She's trying to destroy those children. Can you help us? Martha looked at her husband. Doc Patterson was a quiet man, but his eyes were sharp. There's something you should know about Harriet Crawford, he said slowly. Something that might help. Clara leaned forward. What? Her husband didn't die of natural causes. The words hit like a thunderbolt. What do you mean? Doc Patterson folded his hands. I signed the death certificate. Heart failure, officially. But I always had my suspicions. Edward Crawford was healthy as a horse. Then suddenly he took ill, right after he told Harriet he was changing his will. You think she killed him? I think she helped him along. I just couldn't prove it. Clara's mind raced. If we could prove it now... It's been 2 years. Any evidence is long gone. Martha shook her head. But the suspicion might be enough. Harriet's power comes from her reputation. If people start to question that... She'll fall apart, Clara finished. Doc Patterson raised a warning hand. Be careful. If you go after Harriet and fail, she'll destroy you. She's got nothing to lose and everything to gain. I've got nothing to lose either, Clara said, except my family, and I'll do anything to protect them. She rode home with a plan forming in her mind. That night, after the children were asleep, Clara told Henry what she'd learned. He went pale. You think she murdered her husband? Doc Patterson thinks it's possible. And if Harriet thinks we know, she might back off, or she might come at us harder. Clara took a breath. There's something else. Something I should have told you before. Henry's eyes sharpened. What? I'm pregnant. The silence stretched for an eternity. Henry didn't move, didn't breathe. His face was blank, like all the emotion had drained out of him. Henry, say something. Pregnant, he repeated. His voice was hollow. Yes. We're having a baby. He stood up so fast the chair toppled behind him. Clara flinched, expecting anger, fear, something explosive. Instead, he fell to his knees in front of her. A baby, he whispered. Clara, a baby. Are you okay? His hands came up to cradle her face. His eyes were wet. I'm terrified, he said. I'm absolutely terrified. But I'm also... God, Clara, I'm happy. I didn't think I could be happy again, but I am. Clara's tears spilled over. I was afraid to tell you. Why? Because of Becky. Because of how she died. Henry's face crumpled. I thought you'd be scared. I thought you'd push me away. Never. He pulled her into his arms. Never, Clara. You're giving me everything. A second chance. A family. Hope. His voice broke. I won't let anything happen to you. I swear it. You can't promise that. Then I'll promise to be there, every moment, every step. He pulled back and looked into her eyes. I wasn't there for Becky, but I will be there for you, no matter what. Clara kissed him through her tears. I love you. I love you too, both of you. They held each other in the firelight, and for a moment, the world was perfect. But perfection never lasts. Harriet made her move 3 days later. Clara was hanging laundry when the wagon appeared. Not Harriet's fine carriage. A plain farm wagon, driven by a man Clara didn't recognize. He stopped in front of the house and climbed down. Mrs. Mercer? Clara set down the basket. Yes? I've got a letter for you from the county office. He handed her an envelope and left without another word. Clara opened it with trembling hands. The letter was brief, official, cold. A complaint had been filed regarding the welfare of the Mercer children. An inspector would arrive within the week to assess the home. If the children were found to be in an unsafe environment, they would be removed and placed with a suitable guardian. The recommended guardian was listed at the bottom. Harriet Crawford. Clara's vision went red. She found Henry in the barn and shoved the letter into his hands. He read it once, twice. His face went from confusion to shock to rage. She can't do this. She's doing it. Those are my children. And she's got the county on her side. Clara grabbed his arm. Henry, think. What do we do? He crumpled the letter in his fist. I'll go to the county office myself. I'll tell them the truth. They won't listen, not to you. Harriet's already poisoned them against us.
Then what? Clara thought about the conversation with Doc Patterson, about Harriet's dead husband, about the suspicion that had never been proven. We need proof, she said slowly. Real proof. Something that shows what Harriet really is. How do we get that? I don't know yet, but we've got a week, and I'm not letting that woman take our children. The next few days were a blur of activity. Clara visited Martha Patterson. She talked to the shopkeeper who'd refused to serve her, now suddenly willing to listen. She spoke to anyone who might have information about Harriet Crawford. Slowly, a picture emerged. A housemaid who'd been dismissed without references. A farmhand who'd been accused of theft he didn't commit. A widow whose land had been bought for pennies after her husband's mysterious death. Harriet Crawford had been destroying lives for years. Everyone knew it. No one talked about it. Until now. She threatened me, the housemaid told Clara. Said she'd ruin me if I ever spoke about what I saw in that house. What did you see? The woman hesitated. Mr. Crawford, the night before he died. He was fine at supper, laughing even. Then Mrs. Crawford gave him a special tea, said it would help him sleep. Clara's heart pounded. And? By morning, he was dead, and Mrs. Crawford was already dressed in black, like she'd been expecting it. Clara took the woman's hands. Would you tell that to the county inspector? Fear flickered in the woman's eyes. She'll destroy me. She's trying to destroy my family. She's trying to take my children. Clara's voice cracked. Please, I'm begging you, help me stop her. The woman was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. I'll tell them, she said. I'll tell them everything. The inspector arrived on a cold February morning. He was a thin, officious man with spectacles and a permanent frown. Clara met him at the door. Mr. Hawkins, she said, please come in. He stepped inside, his eyes scanning everything, The clean floors, the warm fire, the children sitting at the table, doing their lessons. "Mrs. Mercer," he said stiffly, "I'm here to assess the welfare of the minor children currently residing at this address." "I understand. I'll need to speak with each child individually." "Of course." Clara led him to the parlor, her heart hammering. She'd prepared the children as best she could, told them to be honest, told them not to be afraid. But fear was a hard thing to control. Tommy went first. He was gone for 20 minutes. When he came out, his face was pale, but determined.
"What did he ask you?" Clara whispered. "Everything. About you, about Papa, about Mama."
Tommy's jaw tightened. I told him the truth.
"Good boy."
Ruthie went next, then Sammy, then Lily. Each child emerged looking shaken but unbroken. Finally, the inspector came out. "I'd like to speak with you and your husband together," he said. Clara fetched Henry from the barn. They sat across from the inspector, hands clasped together. "I've heard some concerning allegations," Hawkins said. "Mrs. Crawford has suggested that Mr. Mercer is an unfit father, that he neglected his children for months, that he's unstable."
"That's not true," Clara said.
"She also suggests that you, Mrs. Mercer, are an unsuitable mother figure, that you were purchased like livestock, that you have no genuine connection to these children." Clara felt Henry's hand tighten on hers.
"May I speak freely?" she asked.
Hawkins nodded.
"I was sold," Clara said. "That's true. My family was destitute, and I signed a contract to marry a man I'd never met in exchange for money to keep them alive. I didn't choose to come here. I didn't choose Henry. I didn't choose these children."
Hawkins raised an eyebrow.
"But I chose to stay," Clara continued. "I chose to love them. I chose to be here when they needed me. I held Joey when he cried.
I sat with Ruthie until she found her voice again. I taught Lily to make biscuits and Tommy to knead bread. I did that, not because I was paid to, because I wanted to." She leaned forward.
"Mrs. Crawford wants to take these children because she wants to hurt my husband. She proposed to him after his wife died, and he refused her. Everything she's done since then has been revenge."
Clara's voice hardened.
"I have witnesses who will testify to her character. Women she's threatened, employees she's wronged, and the housemaid who saw her give her husband a suspicious tea the night before he died."
Hawkins went still. "That's a serious allegation."
"I know, and I have someone willing to swear to it."
The inspector studied her for a long moment. Then he turned to Henry. "Mr. Mercer, is there anything you'd like to add?" Henry cleared his throat. "Only this. I was a bad father for a while. After my wife died, I couldn't face my own children. I hid from them. I let them suffer because I was suffering too." His voice broke. "But Clara changed that. She pulled me back. She made me see what I was doing. And now I'm here. I'm present. I'm trying to be the father they deserve." He looked at the inspector. "Those children are my world. I would die for them. Please don't let Harriet Crawford take them." Hawkins was silent for a long moment. Then he closed his notebook. "I'll need to verify these allegations against Mrs. Crawford," he said. "But based on what I've seen today, I have no concerns about the welfare of these children. This is clearly a loving home." Clara nearly collapsed with relief. "I'll recommend that the complaint be dismissed," Hawkins continued, "and I'll be looking into Mrs. Crawford's conduct. If what you've told me is true—"
"It's true," Clara said. "Every word."
Hawkins stood. "I'll be in touch." After he left, Clara and Henry stood in the parlor, holding each other. "It's over?" Henry breathed.
"Almost."
"What do you mean?" Clara pulled back. "Harriet won't stop just because the inspector dismissed her complaint. She'll find another way. She always does. Then what do we do? Clara thought about the housemaid, about the dead husband, about all the people Harriet had hurt over the years. We end it, she said, once and for all. The next Sunday, Clara stood up in church. The congregation went silent. I know most of you think you know who I am, Clara said. Her voice was steady. The bought bride, the gold digger, the woman who trapped Henry Mercer into marriage. Whispers rippled through the pews. But I'm not here to defend myself. I'm here to tell you about someone else. Someone you all know. Someone you've all been afraid of. She looked directly at Harriet Crawford. 2 years ago, Edward Crawford died suddenly. His wife inherited everything. Since then, she's used that money and power to destroy anyone who crossed her. Harriet rose from her seat. How dare you? I have witnesses, Clara continued. Women who will testify that you threatened them. A housemaid who saw you give your husband a special tea the night before he died. A county inspector who's investigating your conduct right now. The church erupted in noise. People turned to stare at Harriet. Her face went white, then red, then white again. This is slander, Harriet shrieked. You have no proof. Then you have nothing to worry about. Clara's voice was calm. But if you ever come near my family again, I'll make sure every newspaper in Montana knows your name. Harriet looked around at the congregation, at the faces that had always respected her, at the people who were now looking at her with doubt, with suspicion, with fear. She turned and walked out of the church. She didn't look back. Clara sank into her seat. Henry grabbed her hand. You did it, he whispered. We did it. Tommy was staring at her with something like awe. Ruthie was smiling. Even little Lily was clapping. Is the mean lady gone? Lily asked. Clara looked toward the door where Harriet had disappeared. Yes, sweetheart, she said. She's gone. Spring came slowly to Montana. The snow melted in patches, revealing brown earth and stubborn grass. Clara watched the change from the kitchen window, one hand resting on her growing belly. 5 months along now. The baby kicked constantly, especially at night. Henry would press his palm against her stomach and wait, his face lighting up every time he felt movement. Strong one, he said one evening, just like the mama. Or stubborn, Clara replied, like the papa. He kissed her forehead. Probably both. The town had changed too. Harriet Crawford was gone, fled to Denver after the county investigation turned up enough evidence to charge her with fraud. The murder suspicion remained unproven, but her reputation was destroyed. No one mourned her departure. People who had once whispered about Clara now nodded when she passed. Some even smiled. The shopkeeper, who had refused to serve her personally, delivered supplies to the ranch. Mrs. Mercer, he said, hat in hands, I owe you an apology. You owe me flour, Clara replied, but I'll take both. He laughed nervously. Yes, ma'am. The children thrived. Tommy grew taller every week, losing the hard edge that had defined him. He laughed now. He played. He let himself be a boy again. Clara? He asked one afternoon, helping her carry water from the well. Yes? Can I? He hesitated. Can I call you Ma? Clara stopped walking. Her eyes filled with tears. You want to? Tommy's face reddened. You're the only Ma I've got. The only one that counts, I mean. Mama's gone, and you're here, and... He trailed off, embarrassed. Clara set down her bucket and pulled him into a hug. He was almost as tall as her now. I would be honored, she whispered. Tommy held on tight. Thanks, Ma. One by one, the other children followed. Ruthie started calling her Mama Clara. Sammy just said Mama,
simple and sweet. Lily declared that Clara was the best mama in the whole world, which made Clara laugh at the same time. Even Joey, now 2 years old and toddling everywhere, learned to say, "Mama," and reach for Clara whenever she walked into a room. "He loves you," Henry said, watching Joey climb into Clara's lap. "I love him too. All of them." "I know you do." Henry's voice was thick. "That's what makes it real." But happiness, Clara had learned, always came with a shadow. The pains started in late May. Clara was hanging laundry when the first one hit, sharp and sudden, like a knife in her lower back. She gasped and grabbed the clothesline for support. "Ma?" Ruthie was beside her instantly. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, sweetheart, just a twinge." But the twinge came again, and again, stronger each time.
"Get your father," Clara said through gritted teeth.
"Now!" Ruthie ran. Henry came at a dead sprint, his face white with terror.
"Clara? Clara, what's happening?" "The baby's coming." "It's too early. You've got another month." "Tell that to the baby."
He lifted her in his arms and carried her inside. The children clustered in the kitchen, wide-eyed and silent.
"Tommy, ride for Doc Patterson," Henry ordered. "Fast as you can." "Yes, sir."
Tommy was out the door in seconds.
"Ruthie, get Martha. Tell her the baby's coming early."
Ruthie nodded and ran. Henry carried Clara up the stairs and laid her on the bed. His hands were shaking.
"It's going to be fine,"
Clara said, gripping his hand.
"I'm going to be fine."
"You don't know that."
"I do."
She pulled him close.
"I'm not Becky, Henry. I'm not going to leave you."
His face crumpled. "I can't lose you. I can't."
"You won't."
The next contraction hit, and Clara cried out. Henry held her hand through it, his face ashen. Martha arrived first, bustling in with her bag and her calm authority. "How far apart?" she asked. 5 minutes, maybe less." "Fast for a first baby." Martha examined Clara quickly. "She's doing fine. Baby's in position. This is going to happen whether we're ready or not." Doc Patterson arrived 20 minutes later, just as the contractions were coming every 2 minutes. "Henry, out," the doctor ordered.
"No."
"Henry, I said no." Henry's jaw was set. "I wasn't there for Becky. I'll be damned if I'm not here for Clara." Doc Patterson looked at Martha. She shrugged.
"Let him stay. He can hold her hand."
The hours that followed were the longest of Clara's life. The pain came in waves, each one bigger than the last. She screamed. She cried. She squeezed Henry's hand so hard she thought she might break his fingers.
"You're doing beautifully," Martha kept saying. "Almost there. Almost there."
"I can't," Clara gasped.
"I can't do this." "Yes, you can."
Henry's face was inches from hers. "You're the strongest person I know. You survived everything. You can survive this. What if I don't?" "You will." His voice broke. "You have to. I need you. The children need you. This baby needs you." Clara looked into his eyes, saw the fear there, the love, the desperate hope. She pushed. The pain was blinding. She felt like she was being torn apart from the inside. She screamed until her throat was raw. "One more," Martha called. "One more push, Clara. I can see the head." Clara gathered every ounce of strength she had left and pushed. And then suddenly, the pain stopped. A thin, high cry filled the room.
"It's a girl,"
Martha said, her voice full of wonder.
"A perfect little girl."
Clara collapsed against the pillows, sobbing. Henry was crying too, his face buried in her hair. "You did it," he kept saying. "You did it. You did it." Martha placed the baby in Clara's arms. She was tiny,
smaller than Joey had been, with a shock of dark hair and her father's blue eyes.
"Hello, little one," Clara whispered. "Hello, my sweet girl."
The baby stopped crying and looked up at her. Her tiny hand reached out and grabbed Clara's finger.
"She's beautiful," Henry breathed. "God, Clara, she's perfect. What should we name her?"
Henry was quiet for a moment.
"What about Ida, after your mother?"
Clara's heart swelled.
"Ida Marie Mercer."
Ida Marie. Henry touched the baby's cheek with one trembling finger. Welcome to the family. The children came in one by one to meet their new sister. Tommy held her first, his face serious and protective.
"I'll keep her safe," he said. "I promise."
Ruthie cried when she held her.
"She's so small." "You were that small once," Clara told her. "I don't remember." "Your mama remembered. She remembered everything about you."
Sammy was afraid to hold her at first. "What if I drop her?"
"You won't. Here, sit down."
Support her head. There you go. He looked down at Ida with wonder. "She's looking at me." "She is. She's learning your face." Lily climbed onto the bed and snuggled against Clara's side.
"I wanted a sister," she announced, "and now I have one."
"You do.
Can I teach her things?"
When she's bigger, yes."
"Good. I'm going to teach her everything."
Joey was less impressed. He poked the baby's foot and frowned when she didn't respond. "Baby boring," he declared. Everyone laughed. That night, after the children were asleep and the house was quiet, Henry sat beside Clara's bed. "How do you feel?"
"Tired, happy, scared."
"Scared of what?" Clara looked at the baby sleeping in the cradle beside her.
"I'm scared it's too good. I'm scared something will take it away."
Henry took her hand. "Nothing's going to take this away. We fought too hard for it."
"I know, but sometimes I still feel like I'm dreaming. Like I'll wake up back in Ohio, signing that contract again."
"You're not dreaming," Henry kissed her forehead. "This is real. Our life. Our family. All of it." Clara leaned into him. "I love you. I love you too, more than I knew was possible." They sat together in the darkness, listening to the baby breathe. The weeks passed quickly. Ida grew stronger, fatter, louder. She had her mother's temper and her father's stubbornness. She cried when she wanted something and wouldn't stop until she got it. "Definitely your daughter," Clara told Henry. "Definitely yours," he replied. Summer faded into fall. The leaves changed color and fell. The air grew cold again. And then, almost before Clara realized it, November arrived. 1 year since she'd stepped off that stagecoach. 1 year since she'd signed her life away for $300. 1 year since everything changed. Henry disappeared early on the anniversary morning. Clara didn't think much of it at first. He often went to check the animals before breakfast, but when he came back, he was carrying something, a small wooden box.
"What's that?" Clara asked.
"Open it." Clara took the box. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, was a ring. Gold, worn smooth with age, set with a small blue stone. "This was my mother's," Henry said, "and her mother's before that. I've been saving it." Clara's breath caught.
"Henry."
"I know we're already married. I know it was a contract, not a choice. But I want to do it again." He took her hands. "I want to choose you this time. Really choose you." Clara couldn't speak. Tears streamed down her face. "Clara Marie Mercer." Henry's voice was steady.
Will you marry me? Not because you have to. Not because you signed a paper. Because I love you. Because I can't imagine my life without you. Because you saved me and my children, and you didn't have to do any of it. Yes. The word came out as a whisper. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Henry slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly.
I don't deserve you, he said.
Probably not, Clara laughed through her tears. But you're stuck with me anyway. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her, long and deep. The children found them like that, wrapped up in each other. Gross, Tommy said. Beautiful, Ruthie corrected him. Is it a party? Lily asked. Are we having a party? We're having something better, Henry said. We're having a family. That evening, they gathered around the table for dinner. All 8 of them now. Henry at the head, Clara at his right, the children filling every other chair. Ida slept in her cradle by the fire, oblivious to the noise. Henry stood and raised his glass. 1 year ago today, he said, a girl from Ohio walked into my life. I didn't ask for her. I didn't deserve her. But she came anyway. He looked at Clara. She found a broken man and a house full of broken children, and she didn't run. She stayed. She fought. She loved us back to life. His voice cracked.
I spent 18 months blaming myself for Becky's death. I thought I'd never be happy again. I thought I'd lost the right to happiness. But Clara showed me something different. She showed me that grief doesn't have to be the end. That losing someone you love doesn't mean you can't love again. He raised his glass higher. To Clara, my wife, my partner, the mother of my children, the woman who saved us all. To Clara, the children chorused. Clara wiped her eyes. You're going to make me cry. Good, Henry smiled. You've made me cry plenty. After dinner, Clara sat on the porch with Ida in her arms. The first snow of the season was falling, soft and silent. Henry came out and sat beside her. What are you thinking about? He asked. Ohio, my mother, Danny, and Nellie. She'd received the letter that morning. Her mother was better, much better. The medicine had worked. Danny was doing well in school. Nellie was growing up beautiful and smart. Do you regret it? Henry asked quietly. Leaving them? Clara thought about the question. Really thought about it. I regret that I had to leave, she said. I regret that I didn't have a choice. But I don't regret where I ended up. She looked at him. I was sold for $300. That's the truth. I signed a contract like I was livestock, and I rode into a stranger's life expecting nothing but survival. She held up her hand, watching the ring catch the light. But somewhere along the way, survival turned into something else. Something I never expected. She smiled. Love. Real love. A family. A home. Everything I thought I'd given up. Henry put his arm around her. I still can't believe you stayed. Where else would I go? Anywhere. You could have run 100 times. That first night, after Harriet attacked you, after you found out you were pregnant, you could have taken the money and disappeared. I could have. Clara leaned into him.
But I didn't want to. I wanted this. I wanted you.
Even though I was a mess?
Especially because you were a mess, she laughed softly. I understood you, Henry. I understood the grief and the guilt and the feeling that you'd never be whole again. I'd felt all of it. And I knew that the only way through was together. The snow fell harder. Inside, the children were laughing about something. Joey shrieked. Lily squealed. Tommy's voice rose above the chaos, trying to restore order. Listen to them, Henry said. I hear them. That's the sound of happiness. Real happiness.
His voice was thick. I'd forgotten what it sounded like. Now you know again. Now I know again. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the snow cover the world in white. Henry? Yes? I want to bring my family here, in the spring. My mother and Danny and Nellie. I want them to see what we've built. I want them to meet the children. I want them to know I'm okay. Henry turned to look at her. You want to bring them here? If you don't mind. Mind? He laughed. Clara, I'll build them a house if you want. Anything. Whatever makes you happy. Just a visit first. We'll see how it goes. Deal. Ida stirred in Clara's arms, her tiny face scrunching. She let out a small cry, then settled again. She's going to be trouble, Henry said. She's your daughter. Our daughter, Clara smiled. Our daughter. The door opened behind them. Tommy stepped out, his coat hastily thrown over his shoulders. Ma? Pa? It's getting cold. You should come inside. Clara looked at her stepson. Her son, really. He'd grown so much in the past year. Taller, broader, more confident, less angry. We're coming, she said. Ruthie made hot cocoa. Did she? It's probably terrible, but she tried. Clara laughed. Then we'd better drink it and tell her it's delicious. That's what I figured. They went inside together, the three of them. The warmth hit Clara's face. The noise hit her ears. Lily was trying to show Sammy a dance she'd invented. Joey was banging a spoon against a pot. Ruthie was carefully pouring cocoa into cups, her tongue poking out in concentration. And Ida was waking up, her cry cutting through the chaos. Clara scooped her up and held her close. Henry's arm came around her shoulders. The children swarmed around them, all talking at once. This is it, Clara thought. This is what I was sold for. This is what I bought with my future. She looked at Henry, at the children, at the ring on her finger and the baby in her arms. $300. That was the price she'd paid for this life, for this family, for this love. It was the best bargain she'd ever made. Years later, the people of Silver Creek still told the story. They told it to their children and their grandchildren. They told it at church socials and around campfires. The story of Clara Mercer, the bought bride who became the heart of a broken family. The stranger who taught a grieving man to love again. The young woman who stood up to the most powerful woman in the county and won. Some said she was brave. Some said she was foolish. Some said she was blessed. Clara said she was just lucky. But deep down, she knew the truth. Luck had nothing to do with it. She had made a choice. Every single day, she had chosen to stay, to fight, to love, to hope. And that choice had made all the difference. On the mantel of the Mercer house, there were 2 photographs now. One of Becky, young and beautiful, preserved in memory. And one of Clara, Henry, and all 6 children, taken on Ida's first birthday. 2 women who had loved the same family. 2 mothers who had given everything they had. Becky had given her life. Clara had given her heart. And together, in their own ways, they had built something that would last for generations. A home. A family. A love that defied every odd. That was the true story of Clara Mercer. Not the scandal, or the gossip, or the $300. Not Harriet Crawford, or the county inspector, or the rejection from the town. Just love, pure and simple and hard-won. The kind of love that changes everything. The kind of love that lasts. And it all started with a girl from Ohio who signed her name on a piece of paper and stepped into the unknown, expecting nothing and finding everything. Clara Mercer was sold for $300. She became priceless.